Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to another Mathconnect tutorial. In this lesson, you're going to learn how to factorize. The requirement for this lesson is that you know how to multiply and divide. To understand how factorizing works, let's start with an example. Say you were asked to factorize 2a plus 6. The first step is to determine what is the highest common factor between 2 and 6. We know that the biggest number that appears in both is the number 2, because we know 2 times 1 is 2, and that we know 2 times 3 is 6. We now open a bracket, and we say, how do I make this expression look like this? So remember, bracket means multiply. So what do I need to multiply 2 with to get 2a? And the answer to that is a. So we've done the first part. We put in the plus sign, and now we say, what do we need to multiply 2 with to get to the number 6? So we know that 2 times 3 is 6. And now that we're done, we close the bracket. So basically, 2a plus 6 can be written as 2 bracket a plus 3. So as you can see, factorizing is just another way of writing an expression. So let's take a look at another example. Say you were asked to factorize 9w plus 21. So let's go back to what we know. We need to find out what is the largest number that can go into 9 as well as 21. So this will require an understanding of your mathematical timetables. So as you know, the largest number that would go into both 9 and 21 is 3. Now we open the bracket and we say 3 multiplied by what will give us 9w? And the answer is 3w. Plus 3 multiplied by what will give us 21? The answer is 7. We close the bracket and we're done. So let's try another example. Say we wanted to factorize 30 minus 6x. Again, we follow the steps. What is the largest number that could go into 30 as well as 6? And we know the answer is 6. We open the bracket. Now we say 6 multiply what will give me 30? Well, the answer is 5. We have our subtraction sign. And then we say 6 multiplied by what will give us 6x? And the answer is 1x. Now, when we have the number 1 in front of the prenumeral, we don't usually write that number. So the way we would write that would be 6 bracket 5 minus x. So let's move on to another example. Say we wanted to factorize the expression 5ab plus 10b. How do we do that? Well, we follow exactly the same procedure. Firstly, we ask ourselves, what is the biggest number that would go into both 5 and 10? Well, we know that the number 5 would go into both 5 and 10. Now, unlike the previous examples, we can see the prenumerals here. The first expression is AB, and the second expression is B. So we say, okay, what is common to both of those? Well, we know that B appears in both. So now we open the bracket and we say, okay, we have 5b here. How do we get from 5b to 5ab? Well, we know that what's missing is a. Plus, now how do we get from 5b to 10b? Well, we know we multiply 5b by 2 to get 10b. And we close the bracket, and there's your answer. So let's take a look at an example that's a little bit more complicated and involves indices. So if we have the expression 12a squared b minus 8ab, and we were asked to factorize it, how would we do it? Well, even though it looks a bit complicated, all you have to do is follow the procedure. The first thing we need to do is find out the biggest number that would go into 12 and 8. And we know that the biggest number that would go into 12 and 8 is 4. The next step is to take a look at the prenumerals. In the first part of the expression, we have a squared, and in the second part of the expression, we have a. So the most that we can pull out of that is a. Now let's look at the other prenumeral, b. The first part has b, and the second part has b. So therefore, the most that we can pull out from that one is b. So now that we've pulled out all of our factors, we open the bracket and we say, 4 times what will give me 12? Well, the answer is 3. I know that I have an a here, but I need an a squared. So what am I missing? I'm missing 1a. Next, we look at b. We have a b here and a b here. So that means we do not need any more b's. So that stays as it is. Minus. Now we start again. We say 4 times what will give me 8? And the answer is 2. Now we know we have an a here and an a here. So we do not need another a. We have a b here and we have a b here. So we don't need another b. Now we close the bracket. So when we factorize 12a squared b minus 8ab, it would look like 4ab, open bracket, 3a minus 2. And that is our answer. So let's take a look at an expression that is really messy. Say we had 12a squared b minus 8ab all over 4a squared b plus 8ab, and we were asked to simplify it. Now, at the moment, it just looks like one gigantic mess. So let's see if we can use factorizing to help us. We know that the top could be factorized because we did it in the previous example. So when we factorize 12a squared b minus 8ab, we know that we have 4ab bracket 3a minus 2. Now, if we look at the bottom, 4a squared b plus 8ab, we can factorize that as well. We know that the common factor, or the highest common factor between 4 and 8, is 4. We know that there's an a squared in the first expression and an a in the second expression, so the most that we can take out is a. And we know that both expressions have b, so we can take out the b. So now let's open the bracket. So we have 4ab here, and we have 4a squared b. So the only thing that's missing is an a. Now we've got the plus sign. Now we say 4 times what will give us 8? We know the answer is 2. And we know that there's an AB here and there's an AB here. So we don't need any more. So we close off the bracket. So now we have something really interesting. Part of the numerator has 4AB and part of the denominator has 4AB. So what this means is that this part can cancel out the bottom part. So what we have left over is 3a minus 2 over a plus 2. So what started as a jumbled mess has been simplified to look like something more manageable. So let's take a look at a question that looks a little bit more complicated, but when we break it down, it's actually a lot easier than what it looks like. We've been asked to simplify this crazy looking expression here. And the first thought that comes to the mind of a lot of students is basically they freak out. They look at that and they say, well, no, I'm not even going to attempt it. It's too hard. But with all these type of questions, the first clue is that you know that it's going to simplify to something easy. So you know that you'll have to do some sort of factorizing. And when you get started, you'll see that the question becomes a lot clearer. So this question has two fractions. So they're saying what's the first fraction divided by the second fraction. So you will remember from your division of fractions lesson that there are a couple of rules that you have to follow when you do division of fractions. So let's write that down. So say I had A over B and I want to divide that by C over D. So the way you divide fractions is you keep the first fraction, you change the division to a multiply, and then you invert or you flip the second fraction. So A over B divided by C over D becomes A over B multiplied by D over C. So that would be your first step. So let's go back to our scary looking expression. We know that when we divide, the first fraction stays the same. So let's rewrite that. 3x plus 6 over x minus 1. We know that there's a division here of a fraction. So our rule tells us that we need to change that division into a multiplication. So let's do that. Now we know from our rules that we need to invert the second expression. That is, we need to flip this expression. So 6 bracket x plus 1 will be on the top, and 12x plus 24 will be on the bottom. So now we can start to answer the question. We know that this question will involve factorizing. So let's go through each fraction at a time and see what we can factorize. So let's take a look at this first fraction. We know that 3x plus 6 can be factorized. That is, we know that it's 3 bracket x plus 2. We can't factorize the bottom part, so that stays the same. Multiplied by. So we know that this part is already factorized, so that stays the same. But the denominator can be factorized. So we know that the common or the highest common factor between 12 and 24 is 12. We open the bracket. So 12 times what will give you 12x? That's an x. Plus 12 times what will give you 24? That's a 2. So now that we've done all the factorizing, let's take a look at what we've got. So basically this is now a straight out fractions multiplication. So as you know, when you multiply fractions, it's top times top over bottom times bottom. So let's do that. 3 times 6 is 18. And then we have x plus 2. And then we multiply that with x plus 1. So now that we've done the top, let's do the bottom. So we're going to make it easier for us and put brackets for the x minus 1. So we know that 12 times, and this is a 1 here. So when there's nothing there, we put a 1. If you can put a 1 if you want, just to make it easy. So we know that 12 times 1 is 12. And then you have x minus 1, x plus 2. So we're almost there now. We can now see that the top has an x plus 2 and the bottom has an x plus 2. So these two cancel each other out. So what you have left is 18x plus 1 over 12x minus 1. You can leave the solution as it is. However, you can simplify this expression even further. We know that 18 over 12 can be written as 3 over 2. And everything else remains the same. And that would be the complete simplified answer. And that concludes this lesson. As always, if you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, please support the channel by subscribing and spreading the word.